Welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Dr. Kay. Feel free to check in and take a seat wherever you like. We are talking about Love is Blind, and we are ourselves psychotherapists, but we're not your psychotherapist or these people's psychotherapists. No. But we might talk about diagnoses only in like a qualitative way, because we did not assess these folks or meet them personally, so we cannot actually diagnose anybody. But we're excited to talk about them, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on here. Very exciting. This is season 8 we're talking about. We're going to do a real general overview of the couples first, just as background for anybody who may not have seen it, and then we'll talk about the reunion in detail.
All the details. Very excited to talk about that reunion. Well, my dear, what is on your heart and mind this week?
As Dr. Ray knows, I had a flat tire yesterday, so that's probably the most on my mind. Actually, you know what's wild? I actually have like just a bunch of things happening in this weekend too. So both that happened, and I still don't have my car back from that situation. And then, by the way, also I have a donut, which also then went flat. So I was on my game, but not my fault. Multiple things did not work. And then, this weekend I have a weekend workshop. And then during the week next week, we have a type of qualifying exam that we are monitoring for 2 days of the week. And then I have 2 days of the week where I'm also a major moderator for a national conference. So the next basically 7 days, I want to cry. It's like just so much work, but it'll be good. It'll be good when it's over. I'm probably going to get sick. I have a feeling. You know how you like get sick after the stress is over. So I imagine that might happen.
What's the conference? If you don't mind sharing, or if you do, that's okay too.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I guess, well, I'll say it's like about student success.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yay.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
And then because it's also with people on the West Coast, it doesn't start till like our time, like noon. It's great. I like that. But then it also means it goes late, because it's like the other issue is that it's like I like do the session at the end of the last day where it's like people come to talk about anything that happened that went wrong. It's like a debrief kind of thing. And I run it every time, but it ends up being at like 6 o'clock, because it's like, you know, it's like, because it's their time. It's for them, it's like 3. I don't know. Sucks.
Dr. Kay and I think, would both agree that the time we most prefer to meet with anyone is between like 12 and 4.
Exactly. It's a pretty narrow window, but it's there. And I do like that window, exactly that window. You're so right. That's so true.
We both share a night owl kind of tendency night that can be tricky in the morning times.
It's truly can be tricky. Yeah, no, I'm definitely night owl as well. And also it's nice because it is so like national, it's across the country or whatever, that it means it's on Zoom too, which is easier, or it's on whatever, virtually done, which makes it easier. But then it's also like same thing where it's like on the computer at 6 o'clock, my eyes are like, I don't think so. I don't think we should be doing this. What are you doing?
No, thank you.
I actually just realized, by the way, that's going to affect when we are recording. So that's also a heads up. We'll talk about that.
Oh, and you know what? This actually works out for the best, because my mom is coming next week for you know what? That's the next Saturday. So I need to pick her up at the airport anyway. So maybe we just record Thursday night. You're welcome, listeners. This is the sexy content that you just love to see.
Some behind the scenes content for you.
Yes, there you go.
Very exciting. Is that what's on your? Well, tell me what's on your heart and mind. I don't need to say that that's part of it. But what's on your heart and mind today, dear Dr. Ray?
Yeah, I'm excited to see my mom. Wedding planning is in full effect, y'all. It's tonight. I'm so excited. So my partner and I are going to plan our wedding after party, which is at my favorite restaurant in where we live, which is the one that you and I were texting a little bit about the other day.
Oh, that's going to be so exciting.
I know. It's good. So we're kind of planning that out. And then we're going to try out like cocktails. So I'm like, wedding planning is mostly not very fun at all. But I'm like, this is fun. And I'm excited to do this. So
that's so great. That's so great. You know, I had a drink there called Giggly Water. Have you had that one? Yeah. So good.
It is delicious.
I don't even know much about it, but it's really good. I like it a lot.
The Giggly Water. There's something they used to make called the Suffragette that I love that one too.
Love that. Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Fucking great. Because you can get that's like so nice when you're doing sort of like taste testing for cocktails, you can get the same, what you like the most, especially because you've been going to that place, so you know what they have as options and what they're good at making. So I love that.
Yeah, so excited. So should be fun. Yeah, and I think that's what's on my heart and mind. White Lotus season 3. We should talk about it sometime, maybe on mic, but that has been fun to watch too. And the show remains incredibly good.
It does. It's so well done. I love it. Yeah, good. We should definitely catch up on that. Oh, that'd be fun. Then that might be something we're talking about what to do for the next few weeks. In fact, if anyone's interested in that behind the scenes content, which is that we're going to do also related to Love is Blind, a do's and don'ts of the pods. And that will be mostly based on this season, but I think we can pull from other seasons just naturally as we remember them. And it is going to be at some point upcoming. And then we're going to do an awards episode upcoming. And then was there one other thing we had talked about covering?
Beverly Hills, I think.
Beverly Hills. Yes, that's right. Woo. Love. That'll be fun. I guess, you know what? Because I bet their reunion is going to be good. So maybe when it starts to get towards, because I think we're getting towards the finale. So that'll be a good time to do that catch up. So then that means that after that, we could probably do White Lotus because I bet that will finalize soon after that.
And then Summer House. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Summer House. Well, we've got a lot of things. There's been so much good reality TV lately. It's almost overwhelming.
Yeah. There's so much. I think we talked about that, like sociopolitically, it probably relates to the writer's strike, but it's also like, it makes so much sense to just like, you know, both that it makes sense that it's overwhelming and it also makes sense there's a lot of it. And I think also I've been noticing, you know how Netflix does this thing where they're like, every now and then they'll include like a line, I was going to call it a column, but it's a row of like shows that are upcoming and you can like cycle through and watch all the previews. Every now and then they do that because there's like 100 cool things coming out or whatever. I just got stuck in that land today because they have another 100 things coming out. So I put a bunch of them on my list. So do recommend. Yeah. Go catching up on what they have coming out. And my point about it in this context, although there's many things I liked on it, one of them was a reality show that is a brand new concept, and it's called Millionaire Question or something. Like, I don't fucking know. Something with million, like who has a million? I don't know. But the point of it is that there's a group of people, and one of them has already won the $1 million. Okay? So they're given the $1 million. They know they have it, but they have to keep it by not letting anyone find out they're the ones who have it. So then they spend the whole season of the show testing each other and trying to figure out, like they do challenges and they get clues when they do challenges. And so then they're going to use the clues to try to find out who has the million, and they have to vote people out. So if they vote someone out and it turns out they had the million, then I don't know, maybe like it's split between who voted. I don't know, but some sort of thing happens. But otherwise, if they vote that person out and their box is empty, then it still means one of the millionaires in the group. So I'm loving it. I feel like part of the strategy, if that's the case, like you split the people who voted them out, split it, then the good strategy would be figure out who has the million, but don't vote them out till you're not many people left.
Damn. Yeah, that it will be interesting to see what happens if they were to vote the person out. But I'm sure it'll be like a traitor sort of thing, like you were saying, where it kind of gets re-upped or whatnot. But ooh, that sounds like a fun show.
I'm excited. It looks really good. And it has that guy, it has an actor in it who's like the host. He's the millionaire who like gave $1 million, is the like premise, who gave $1 million. And he's in like a bunch of things as like the funny, like out of touch butlers. And it's like hard to, I don't even really know. I feel like we see him in a lot of stuff. He's very funny, but so it's an actor doing the thing too. It's fun. Just like Alan,
Yay.
Love it.
Love it. Speaking of love, should we talk about
Love is Blind?
Yes, where love has gone well and not so well. I have to say, I continue to believe that love is not blind upon watching the show, and my take is pretty much reinforced every season. I don't think love is blind, and I think the show can bring people together. They have a lot of
success. Yeah,
they do.
They have more success than obviously Bachelor or anything like that, by far. And I think to your point, like, right, like the thing is that works for the show is that mostly everyone's conventionally attractive, and so like then it works out. But like, because there's a way in which like being sexually attracted to somebody is still a part of your overall attraction. And I also agree with like what Lauren said in the pods about like, you can grow and attract physical attraction to somebody that you feel emotionally connected to, and you can also like wane a physical attraction to somebody that you don't feel as emotionally connected to. So I agree with that too, and so I think in some ways the show gives people a better chance to have that happen. But I do think that still the attraction has to be there.
Absolutely. And usually, unfortunately, if the man fancies himself more attractive than the woman, even if it's not maybe true in my perception, that's when it doesn't work. The opposite tends to work a little better.
Yeah. I had a friend who would say this all the time in grad school. There's upward mobility for men, but not women. Like, so like men can be with much more attractive women, but women are very rarely with much more attractive men.
Mm-hmm. Sucks.
Very
Should be the opposite.
I agree.
Because women are also just like objectively better looking at baseline, in my opinion. Maybe that's a controversial statement.
No, it's a cultural statement, because they did a study recently where they said, like, asked like men and women, that is a binary thing, but they asked men and women, like, which are you more attracted to people of the same sex? Like, which sex is more attracted to people of the same sex? And both men and women were both more likely to be attracted to women. And it's because our cultural imagery is all about women. And so like we see women naked, we see women's bodies, like, so it's much more common for a woman to find a woman attractive because of cultural interest in women. So it is not surprising that you would think that also women tend to be more attractive. I think they also tend to be more attractive, and probably because our culture tells us that. So.
Indeed. Fascinating stuff. Well, shall we dive into our Love is Blind season 8 Minnesota season?
Minnesota.
My Midwesterners.
I love that for you. I love getting to know you a little bit more through getting to know them and their vibes, because I don't know many Midwestern people. I have watched reality shows that are like, like Salt Lake City and whatever. I like to learn a little bit. I also used to video game with my ex-husband, and we had friends that were from Minnesota. So I felt like I learned a lot from them, but that's it. Those are my only 2 contexts.
That's funny. I would consider Salt Lake City the West Coast, but maybe it is the Midwest. I'm not sure. Fair.
Maybe they're like cuspy. Because they're like just inside, right? Or whatever. They're not technically on the coast, but they're not. Yeah. They're also not. Yeah, that's true.
They're like their own thing, maybe. I don't know.
They're probably their own thing for sure. Like, just thinking about how like Mormon they are and stuff, like that element of it is definitely their own thing for sure.
Yes. We certainly have Mormons in the mid. Like there was a whole neighborhood of Mormons, very rich Mormon folks in my hometown. It was like a whole thing, and a lot of them went to my high school. However, lots of Catholics, and that was represented in this season as well. You see a lot of Catholic people.
That's so true.
Whatever reason.
Yeah. Totally. No, that's interesting. Okay, that's helpful. That's good. Good data. Good information. I don't know anyone Mormon personally. I have a family member who is, because that family lives in Wyoming. So that's the only reason. You would think also that was like one of my influences for knowing about the Midwest. It's not. I do not know them that well. So I still don't really know much about it from anyone else, but that's good. I feel like I'm learning more about Ohio through learning about Minnesota, so that's good. We're getting there.
Yay. Yes. Similarities and differences for sure.
I'm sure there's major differences. The other thing too is that we're going to do it by couple, and we split up the couples and who's doing which couple. So we're just going to go couple by couple. And then the reunion, we can probably do page by page. I think there's a lot of pages of that. We'll find out.
That is perfect.
Take it away.
Yeah. So I'm starting with Monica and Joey. They were the first couple to get engaged. Things I liked about Joey, I liked that he was open about having OCD. I thought that was cool. That's about it. He was a nice guy.
That's where we land.
Yeah, and that's it. No, he was okay. He just clearly wasn't that into Monica, which was unfortunate. I wish he could have been more honest with himself and her about that, in my opinion.
Yep. But I was sort of interested in the like, because she says, she ends up saying he says she never said I love you until the speech at the wedding. And I was talking about that with my husband. He was like, wait, did he ever say it to her? And I immediately was like, no, of course he didn't. And then I was like, maybe he did though. Like, actually, we don't really know that for sure. They didn't say he definitely didn't. And then when I was rewatching to take the notes or whatever, I noticed that he does say like falling. And she even said like, we haven't said I love you. In the reunion, she ends up saying, we never said I love you, Joey. I love you, Monica. But he does say things like in the proposal saying like, this is why I'm falling in love with you. And, it's saying things like that, like, falling in love with you. I love falling in love with you. And she never says things like that back to him. So it is possible there is an element of him like also feeling insecure that we didn't really see the first time. I'm just like, to be fair. And also I feel like there's a lot of things that are very like not cool about Joey. Many. I also have a segment real quick, just since you brought that up, which is we spotted therapy. So I think his like awareness of his OCD and like what is and what isn't his OCD. And then also like, I'm imagining the OCD probably formed as a result of his sister dying and the cerebral palsy, and the fact that he gave up going to D1 school for his family and to take care of his sisters and his mom. I'm imagining that sounds like he's been to therapy. It feels to me like this is something he has talked through with somebody who knows what's going on with OCD, and potentially because of the severity of it, it very much really could have been getting in his daily life, like in the way of his daily life, to It's like sort of the sort of thing where it's like a lot of people have OCD symptoms, but if it's not getting in the way or like creating it's not taking time away from your day, then it's sort of one of those things where like you wouldn't necessarily do much about it. But I get the sense it's enough of a thing that he has. So I think that was the one. I might be wrong, but or definitely could be wrong. That was the one thing that stuck out to me is like someone that seemed to almost talk about therapy.
Yes. I think he even did say that maybe he did ERP because they were thinking about
He did. Oh my God. Yes, you're right. Okay. He did talk about it. He might
not have said ERP specific, but
he said
actually
ER. He said ER. He said RP. He said I've done response prevention, but he didn't say exposure and response prevention. And so I remember saying that to my husband. I was like, he's talking about ERP. Let me tell you more about it. I think he just said response prevention. Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, maybe we could do a mental health checkup on OCD sometime and talk about ERP and all that good stuff. Because it's one of those things where a lot of folks can do kind of more general psychotherapy. For OCD, you really want to get that specific treatment. And it does seem like he did, which is super cool.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And he talked about what exposure is, but he didn't call it exposure. So he was talking about, and like desensitization, systematic desensitization, essentially. But I think he just said RP, and then but didn't use the acronym either. So we're adding to the conversation a little bit by bringing that up. Thank you so much for reminding me. I was like, I feel like he kind of, but like, yeah, no, exactly. He had a very explicit conversation about therapy, so that's great.
It was. I felt like that was a moment of misattunement on her end. I felt like she wasn't getting it, and it's a hard thing to get. So I kind of understood, but I wondered
she was pretty lax about it.
Yeah, I wondered if maybe he felt a little unseen. I couldn't quite tell, but who knows?
Yeah. And I think even the like part they replay during the preview or whatever, where she was like, so you're just like spinning, or sort of like, and she talks about herself as like spinning, and she means like she's like amped kind of, or like hyperactive a little bit is what I think or hyperactivated is what she means by that. And that's not what he would say. That's not what he meant. If he agreed with that, that's not what he meant, right? Like he probably meant like spiraling, obsessive thinking, which is a little different from like feeling like, amped.
Yes. And then I remember later on, it was kind of funny. She at one point was like, you're so not an anxious person. And then he was like, except for the OCD.
The type of anxiety I have.
Yeah, it was. So there was some missing there, I guess. Maybe I didn't give him enough credit. I did. I think I had a feeling about him that he's one of those guys who gets away with being a nice guy, but also has some like bro-y tendencies that are kind of annoying. But
yeah, that came up in reunion hard. It came up in reunion hard. I would say like during the season, I wasn't sure about that. But then see, like even the throwing the football with his friends, like that's fine. I like all that's fine with me. But like, yeah, the stuff that came up in the reunion that we'll talk about, that was rough. I really was like, shit, that sucks. Like I really feel differently about him now. But I think I agree that like potentially some of the things that she was hard on him for, I think are related to his mental health. Like I think he's hypoactivated where she's hyperactivated. He's probably more avoidant where she's more anxious. So I think there's in terms of attachment, not in terms of anxiety. But so I think they probably weren't going to be a great fit anyway. But I think so like, and then he even brought up like her sister. At the moment I was like, don't blame her sister. But I actually believe that could have been a part of it because it probably got into his obsessive thinking and he couldn't stop thinking about it when like she said her best friend's her sister. And then the sister was like, fuck this or whatever, out of probably jealousy. But and then, the reverse too, like I imagine if he felt like she never said I love you, he might have been thinking she was going to say no. Whereas like we were seeing her be like, I hope he says yes, because I'll say yes if he does. He never saw that part of it. So, I think there's a lot that would be different potentially if they were more open with each other the way they were with us. Okay.
A lot of missing.
Yeah.
A lot there. But he went from homeschooled to public school. They shared a love of sound, of music. I loved how often D1 sports came up on this season because that is such a Midwestern thing. It's much less important, like where you go to school. I mean, for some people it is, but I would say there's much more of a culture around sports. And the whole D1 thing, you played D1, is like much more of kind of like cultural cachet. So I saw that come up a couple times and I thought it was pretty funny.
Like Brittany, she said that she both played and coached D1 basketball. Pretty cool. That's like one of the only times I really heard it other than Joey. I mean, I know they said it. A lot of people said it, but those were one of the ones I remember. I was like, go Brittany. Because I think in the moment, Devin seemed like he wanted to be like, kind of like the one who's, and then she said that and he was like, whoa, never mind. Big deal.
I think he played maybe D3, which is less of, not to be that guy, but like, I didn't like Devin very much, spoiler alert. But anyway, and then I think Dave might have flexed playing D1 baseball, but
there was
I didn't quite buy it. I kind of was like, are you a walk-on? He just didn't have I think it was how bad he was at spinning was like shocking to me. I'm like, if you were a former athlete, you wouldn't be that bad at spin. Now my Midwesternness is coming out, as you can see. I'm like, it was like kind of bad. But anyway, I'm going to move on of this. But yes.
I love it. It's totally fair. No. I think that's fair. And there was another baseball player too. I think Ben was also a baseball player.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There was a bunch of athletes. Good old Midwest vibes.
Right. That's good to know. That's related.
Yes, but let's see. So, what else was there? Joey had a lot of trauma related to. He stayed nearby while his sister was sick because of his parents' divorce to help his mom. And he noted she's smart, but very naive and terrible with money, which is sad. So he's kind of parentified in that way, really.
Big. Big. I totally agree. And also to have two sisters. You saw all the sisters, this is during the wedding too, this isn't giving away a reunion, but at the wedding, you saw that the sisters were also parentified. Like they were telling mom, like, it's okay, mom, it's a good thing. It's not sad about the sister's wheelchair.
Yeah. That's right. I forgot about that. That was interesting. And she also stepped away from her job to take of her grandma, who also forgets grandpa's name. So they like had a lot in common about that. And sometimes she walks over to kiss her husband, even though she doesn't remember him. But yeah, so they were the first to get engaged. The reveal was kind of awkward. He asked to kiss her, which I loved. I thought that was really
consent
cute.
Is great. Consent is great.
I was like, okay, he at least is not a total douchebag. But it didn't seem, I agree that their reunion was awkward.
Yeah. And I was thinking it's like, I kind of get the vibe that she is like a little bit uncomfortable with sex. I think she just like maybe is still like getting into her body. Like I think just in terms of her self-love, I think her love of her body is like still growing or learning, it's changing with time. And I think with him having sisters makes him like uber worried about overstepping. So I think between the two of them having that dynamic, it would make it really hard for them to like get on the right sexual track. Yeah. Maybe that was a factor.
Oh. And OCD can really impact sex for people. That can be a really tough combo. But I don't know. I don't know how it manifests for him.
Yeah.
Funniest thing that happened between the two of them was the sock bin for all the family socks. Is so funny. So like they were a quirky family for sure. Yeah. And I'll be honest, the dynamic, it was funny because Connor was like, because I was like, I don't buy that the sister is why he doesn't like her. I think he doesn't like her. And Connor was like, I don't know. Like to him, it was pretty weird. And maybe I was just like missing it. I'm like, it's weird, but like maybe it's like she's being TV weird protective. For me, I guess that wouldn't be a deal breaker. But for Connor, he was like, it feels really fraught. But I'm kind of more on the I think he didn't like her before the sister kind of vibe.
That's possible. Yeah, totally. I think he might have been unsure, perhaps, like especially if she wasn't saying I love you yet, even after they got out of the pods, when other people were saying I love you at the reveal, at least, if not before. I could see that getting in his head early. So then when the sister thing happened too, he might have been thinking, Monica's telling me it's fine, but I bet behind closed doors she feels worse about me because of her sister. Like he might have also gotten in his head about Monica because of the sister, about Monica loving him or not, and because she wasn't saying I love you. And then the other thing is, like, he had a good point about how he said to her, my sisters are my best friends. And she was like, that's me too. That, like, if his sisters didn't like his girlfriend, he would never get with her. And so he might have been thinking, Monica can't want to be with me because if my sister didn't like her, I wouldn't be with her, Sure. So, like, I could imagine there being more of a weight because of that. But
that makes sense.
We saw Monica be like, fuck you to her sister, but he didn't see that,
That's true. Her sister was weird, and I agree there was like jealousy there. And then he made a weird joke at one point, which I didn't like, where he was like, "Oh, is your sister's boyfriend still trying to get with you?" kind of thing.
But it turned out that was a thing that happened. I heard that too. So I also was like, but then it turned out that is an actual dynamic. Like there was like an actual dynamic there, so I think that she was also like feeling that way. And so he was like, yeah, I don't know. But did he make that in front of his sister? Yeah.
I think he made that in front of the sister, but he she went out with the guy first and then was like, you're going to like my sister much better. And then that was when I think he made that joke. And I was like, ugh, that's a weird joke to make, because there might be insecurities between the two of them anyway. I'm not really sure.
Don't need to build that up. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's also like Monica might have been like flippant about it to him, and he thought that the sisters did that too. Like he might have thought that was like a open, joke, but like not actually. And it wouldn't be. It really wouldn't be with a jealous sister like that for sure. But I think like the what his flaw was there was like he was applying his closeness with his sisters, her with her sister, like. And just because you both feel like your sisters are your best friends doesn't mean it looks the same between, and I think that probably was a big part that was getting in the way.
Totally, the different dynamics, because that was a dynamic between her and her sister for sure. There was a lot there.
Truly. So this is good. This is a good setup for it. And then I guess the last thing is just that then they meet again, and she kind of basically says like, I give my blessing, but I'm not going to support it. What the fuck is that? How is that not the same thing? Like, I don't.
It was weird. It was weird.
I don't get it.
And you know what? The photos were cute. She did a nice job on the photos, so that's cool.
And she said a really cute thing about how she said, I can tell if people don't love each other, and it seems like you really love each other. And I thought that was very sweet.
Yeah. She was wrong.
She was wrong. They don't love each other. They don't say I love you.
But, it was nice of her to say.
Exactly. I mean, right, like, they seemed like almost like siblings with each other. Like there was something like they were very like laughy and giggly and fun. And maybe the sibling thing is more embedded than we think even. Like maybe part of why it was such a big deal is because like already they built their friendship on the fact they were both close with their siblings. So it actually like entered a sibling thing for them, and like that's why she wasn't saying I love you. That's why they weren't being sexual. That's why, it's like, and maybe it turned into like an embedded issue, and that's why he took it so seriously too, or whatever. I don't know.
That's so true. Yeah. Yeah, but just no go for them. But
They were a no. They were a no at the altar. Oh yeah, so I didn't enter any of those notes into these, so I guess we'll try to remember for what happens at the wedding. But at the wedding, she tells us during the setup that like if he says yes, I'll say yes. She gives her speech first, and she says I love you during her speech. But his speech is very much like thank you for going on this journey with me. What a great journey. So it's like we're real clear he's going to say no. So then she gets asked first, and she says no because she knew it was going to be. And he was like, thank you for saying that because I also was going to say no. So then
he didn't have to say that.
No, I know that was so rude. He like
so
took the power back. He was like, I was also going to do that, so don't worry. Yeah, he took the power.
I was back. Like, we know, but you don't have to say it. Like, don't be a dick. She knows
exactly, and she knows that. You don't need to tell her that, and you don't need to tell the audience that. I think, it was very much like taking her power. So I agree. That was a no go for me as well. Not cool. Notice that as well. So that's the end of that story until we come back to the reunion. So then the next couple is Taylor and Daniel. And Taylor and Daniel are the only ones to say yes at the altar and get married. So that's a bit of a spoiler for you. Well, obviously we've seen this because we're recounting. But so right away at their first date, she makes jokes about getting married. She's so funny. Like I love her humor.
She's so cute.
She's so cute. She was like, so we're going to get married, right? And he was like, oh yeah. And she's like, are you down on a knee? And he was like, I'm on my knee. And so they kind of joked with each other through the wedding about the fact that on their first date, they got married or like were engaged on the first date. She brings up that she thinks about him a lot and said that, like, I really love the language you use. Like, every time you would agree with me, you'd say, I'm right there with you, which just feels different than saying same or whatever, which I thought that was really cute. She did say, like, I love that when you refer to me as the mother of my children. When I first saw the show, I thought she was saying he only referred to her as the mother, like he would always refer to her that way. And I was like, I hate that. Like, she's also a woman, like, or the woman you love, or like, there's like other things. I hope that it's. But when I rewatched it, I realized she didn't say that. She said, every time you refer to your kids, you would talk about the mother of your children. So I was like, so that's totally different. And that I'm okay with. I'll allow it. But there's whatever. But anyway, she really liked that. I thought that was sweet. He talked about how he has a sister who's blind, whom we also saw at the wedding. She played the piano and was gorgeous, like beautiful singer and artist. He talks about how much she loves people and that he wants to be like that. And they both talk about how they were only thinking about each other. Like right away, they're smitten. They're really not. We never see either of them. Well, actually, we did see her with a couple other people, even like with Dave for a second or whatever. But like mostly once we see people coupling off, they're never in a triangle. She's a nurse. Her dad was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. She talks about being scared about him not being able to walk her down the aisle, which makes it beautiful. He was there at the wedding. I said during their wedding to Sean, I was like, after she told him that she might not have had her dad at the wedding, they better fucking get married. I was like, she gets to have her dad there. You better say yes. I was like, even if they break up later, like, you better say yes today. But no, they're great. They didn't. They seem to still be together. So they both have an obsession with Christmas. That's cute. One thing that I think was a major don't for the pods was that at one point Daniel said to her, I told you about my Christmas cards, right? And she was like, no. And he's like, I didn't tell you? Oh my God. And this is right after both of them were talking about how they've been only thinking about each other's dates. I was like, do you think that like makes her feel good that you're like, I don't remember if I told you about this huge thing? Like, I think there's a way to be like, did I tell you about the Christmas cards? No. Okay, here you go. Not be like, no way. Like, because like, how could, I don't know. I was like, not helpful. But she was, fine with it, I suppose. She shares she's an overthinker. He's really sweet about it. He's like, just tell me if you're ever feeling insecure. Her dad has the same name as him, and their moms share a middle name, which is cute. I didn't even really remember that till later. The reveal, this will come up during the reunion, but he technically brings up her smile several times at first and doesn't bring up her eyes until a little bit later, but he does later. Taylor says that he's a little shorter than she thought. The big thing with Daniel's like plot line prior to them being connected was that he's a short king. Talks about short king seasons year round with me. He's insecure about it, worried about women thinking he's short. So that made me worried. I was worried he was going to be like an actual asshole because of his insecurity. He was not. So that's great. His parents are fantastic. So I get where he is great, honestly. So she's like, he's a little shorter, but any excuse not to wear heels. They're very kissy. It's very cute. However, and they're also very funny, which I think is great. And he even says like, I'm probably the luckiest person in the world, which is very cute. He also talks about like cosmic energy, thinking like this was meant to be. Very cute. They both say I love you prior to and during the reveal. I will say that he was giddier than she was at the reveal. And off mic, Dr. Ray and I were talking about how we both thought that was because she was disliking his height, because he is shorter because she's wearing heels at the reveal. But come to find out that actually the reason why she was much less giddy and more nervous is because this was the big plot line of the pod episodes that we were like, not spoiler, it was like previews of it to come. We didn't know who it was going to be at first, but it turns out it's Daniel and Taylor. That she had a fear when meeting him that she recognized him so well that probably he had friended her on Instagram and then unfriended her. And so she says, it's been crossing my mind since I met him, and it makes me nervous. She has this app that lets her see who's friended her and unfriended her. When she first talks to Daniel about it, he is incredible. He's so calm. He's like, listen, I didn't do that. It's not me. She was like, do you have this Christmas photo? This is the thing that made me think it was you. He's like, I don't. That's not my photo. And then she's like, okay, well, I have the app so I can look. And then he suddenly changes tunes a little bit. And then he goes, well, I might have done it.
Nervous.
Yeah. He's like, I might have done it, but just know that I didn't know I did it. And that's fair. Yeah. I actually believe that. Like, I would do the same thing. I'd be like, just because you find it doesn't mean, like, I don't remember doing it. So
right. I would get the same way. I'd be like, wait, did I? Shit.
Yeah. Like, let me just say, if I did, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't remember doing it. I didn't think you were, the ironic thing is that he had said prior to this coming out, prior to them meeting, he had said many things that were weird. Like he said at one point, he said, I remember every Instagram photo I see, or like, I remember every profile.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Oh, that is so weird.
So to then later be like, well, I might have, is a little bit alarming. He also said, if you left suddenly, it's okay, I'll find you. Which if he had found her on Instagram before, makes that ezy.
Creepy.
He also said things like, maybe our paths have crossed. Is that weird I said that? Maybe that's weird I said that. She's like, no, it's not weird you said that. He was sort of like, maybe we've crossed paths already, which felt like he was prepping her for it, kind of. So I was like in my head thinking it's probably that. Like you're saying, because he decided he didn't like her. And so at that point, he just was like, I'm just going to say that whatever I need to say to make this not work at this point.
And make me look good or whatever. But not a fan. But yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that was fun. I think we're going to split up this episode and we're going to do the reunion next week, actually, because we had a lot more to say here than I think we thought we did, which is fun.
Exactly. And we won't do check-ins next week because we did it today and we're going to record it the same day. So that means it'll be a potentially briefer episode, but maybe not because there's a lot to say about the reunion. So that's nice. And, we'll see what happens. But for now, what a delight. Please check us out on social media because we are there. You can also find us on Patreon. Please do. It's only $5. It's so easy. And you get lots of content. You got a lot of video content. You see our full video episodes. You can see excerpts of them on YouTube, and actually Spotify. But you get to see the whole video episodes. And we have behind the scenes videos and we have all sorts of other things. You can also get mental health checkups. And we're going to do one soon. as we talked about, on OCD and exposure and response prevention. So check that out. Then that's at patreon.com/realitytest, REALITY test. And you can also search it on the search bar using the @ symbol reality test. We're also on Instagram at Dr. K Pods, Dr. Ray Pods. We're on TikTok at Dr.realitytv. We are on YouTube and also Facebook at Reality Test Pod. And then last but not least, we're on email, realitycheckpodding, PODDING, @gmail.com.
And don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends.
Yeah.
All of it.
And come hang out. Yeah.
Yeah. We're hip.
Yeah. We can do the thing.
And we'll see you next session.